Have you ever wondered why humanity, despite all its progress, still seems haunted by violence, cruelty, and destruction? Why wars still rage? Why hatred still thrives? And why even the kindest people sometimes shock themselves with thoughts they'd never dare to say out loud? Here's the uncomfortable truth Carl Jung wanted us to face. The greatest danger to humanity is not out there somewhere in the shadows. It's inside of us. Inside me. Inside you. Inside everyone who has ever lived. Jung called it the shadow, the dark side of human nature. Not just personal shadows like your suppressed anger or hidden desires, but also the collective shadow, the monstrous side of humanity that has fueled wars, genocides, and cruelty since the beginning of history. And here's the kicker. The more we deny this dark side, the stronger it becomes. You can put on all the masks you want, the polite worker, the loving friend, the smiling neighbor. But underneath, the shadow waits. And if you don't face it, integrate it, and understand it, it will erupt in ways that destroy not just your life, but sometimes the entire world. Sounds heavy, right? Well, buckle up, because Jung's insights into the dark side of human nature are not just psychological theories. They're a roadmap to understanding why humanity keeps repeating the same tragic mistakes, and more importantly, how you can stop yourself from becoming a pawn of your own shadow. Let's start with something simple. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to blame others for the things you don't like about yourself? Like, maybe you can't stand arrogance in other people, but secretly, there's a part of you that craves recognition and superiority. Or maybe you judge others for being selfish, while hiding the fact that deep down, you often put yourself first. Jung called this projection. When we take the dark parts of ourselves we don't want to see and project them onto others. It's like walking around with a mirror but insisting it's a window. You think you're seeing them, but really, you're seeing yourself. And projection doesn't just happen between individuals. Entire societies do it. Take history. Think about witch hunts. Whole communities projected their repressed desires, fears, and anxieties onto innocent people, convincing themselves that the witches were the problem. Or consider Nazi Germany. Jung himself, watching from Switzerland, warned that Hitler's rise was not just about one man. It was the eruption of the German people's collective shadow, their denied rage, humiliation, and desire for power projected onto outsiders. Jung once said, "The individual who fails to recognize his shadow becomes its victim. The same is true of a nation." Now let me add a little humor here because all this shadow talk can get intense. Have you ever had a moment where someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly in your head, you become the star of your own imaginary action movie? Like, for 10 seconds you're Liam Neeson in Taken, plotting revenge, before you snap out of it and remind yourself you're actually just late for work and driving a Honda Civic. That's your shadow showing up. It doesn't mean you're evil. It means you're human. Jung would say that your shadow is not just the dark monster society warns you about. It's also the source of your raw energy, passion, and strength. But only if you have the courage to face it. Let's bring science into this, because Jung's ideas sometimes sound mystical. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo ran the infamous Stanford prison experiment. He split college students into guards and prisoners in a mock prison just to see what would happen. Within days, ordinary nice young men turned into sadistic guards, humiliating and abusing their fellow students. The experiment had to be shut down early because the cruelty got out of hand. What does this prove? That the shadow isn't limited to bad people. Given the right conditions, ordinary humans, including you and me, can reveal terrifying darkness. This was exactly Jung's point. The evil we see in the world is not alien, it's human. And the more you tell yourself, "I could never do that," the more you set yourself up for the shadow to take control. Jung believed the first step to not being possessed by evil is to admit, I am capable of anything. That's a chilling realization, but also a liberating one. Because once you admit the capacity for darkness, you can take responsibility for it instead of pretending it doesn't exist. But here's where Jung was different from most thinkers. He didn't say we should destroy the shadow. He said we must integrate it. Why? Because the shadow isn't just the dark stuff. It's also the source of vitality. Imagine if you suppressed your anger so much that you lost the ability to stand up for yourself. Imagine repressing your ambition until you never went after your dreams. The shadow holds not just evil, but also hidden potential. If you bring it to consciousness, you gain strength. If you deny it, it controls you. Let's get personal for a second. Think of someone you absolutely despise, someone who triggers you instantly. Maybe it's a celebrity, maybe a politician, maybe that coworker who eats loudly at lunch. Ask yourself, what exactly bothers me so much about them? Then, and this is the hard part, ask, is that trait somewhere inside me too? That's Jung's test for the shadow. And if you have the courage to admit it, you've just taken the first step toward self-awareness. Of course, facing the shadow is not just about you. It's about humanity as a whole. Jung warned that when we ignore the dark side collectively, it grows until it explodes in violence. Wars, genocides, and atrocities all begin with the refusal to look inward. The 20th century, with its world wars, was Jung's grim proof. He said modern man is in danger of losing his shadow entirely, meaning projecting it so completely onto others that we believe we are purely good and the enemy is purely evil. And when that happens, the darkest chapters of history are written. But what's the solution? Jung's answer was radical. Every person must take responsibility for their own shadow, not society, not governments, not religions. You. He said, the world hangs by a thin thread, and that thread is the psyche of man. Imagine that. The future of humanity depends on whether individuals like you and me have the courage to face our own darkness. Let's pause here, because I know this is heavy. Let's breathe. Maybe even laugh a little. You know what Jung would have said about all those self-help gurus promising you endless positivity and good vibes only? He would have called it dangerous. Why? Because when you try to live in endless sunshine, you create longer shadows. Real growth doesn't come from pretending everything is light. It comes from integrating the darkness, from being brave enough to walk into your own inner basement and see what's hiding there. Think about Batman for a moment. Why is he so compelling as a hero? Because unlike Superman, he doesn't ignore the darkness. He was born from it, he faced it, and he used it. Jung would say Batman is the perfect archetype of shadow integration, turning trauma and fear into strength and purpose. And if you think about it, maybe that's why Batman resonates so deeply across cultures, because secretly we all know we have to face our darkness if we want to be whole. Now let's tie this back to you, sitting here listening. Jung's path isn't abstract philosophy. It's a practical invitation. Every time you feel triggered, angry, jealous, ashamed, that's your shadow knocking. You can run from it, distract yourself with social media, drown it out with noise. Or you can pause, turn inward, and ask, what part of myself am I afraid to face right now? Do this often enough and you'll notice something incredible. The things that once controlled you, rage, envy, fear, lose their grip, and in their place you gain authenticity, strength, and wholeness. Jung believed that only by doing this inner work can humanity hope to stop repeating its darkest patterns. It won't happen by preaching peace while secretly hating your neighbor. It won't happen by pretending you're pure light. It will only happen when individuals, one by one, take responsibility for their own shadows. Because when you face your darkness, you stop needing to project it onto the world. And that, Jung believed, is the beginning of real peace. So let me leave you with this. The dark side of human nature is not a problem to be solved. It's a truth to be faced. It's not out there in monsters and villains. It's in here, in the human heart. Yours, mine, all of ours. And if you have the courage to look into that darkness, not with fear, but with honesty, you'll find that it's not just a pit of horrors. It's also the source of your greatest power. And now, if this video stirred something in you, don't just let it fade. Drop a comment below. Not a random emoji, but your honest reflection. What part of this hit you the hardest? And if you're brave enough, share one shadow trait you've noticed in yourself. By sharing, you're not just helping yourself. You're helping others realize they're not alone in their darkness. And if you want to keep exploring these hidden truths with me, hit that like button not as a favor, but as a declaration. I choose to face my shadow. Subscribe, not to follow me, but to follow yourself. Because every time you come back here, you'll be walking one more step toward the wholeness you were always meant to live. The shadow is waiting, the light is fragile, and the choice is yours.